Welcome to the Always On podcast. I am your host, Duncan MacPherson. On this podcast, our objective is to continually enable our audience, which are high caliber fee-for-service professionals, to always be working on their business and on themselves personally and professionally. To that end, on today's podcast, I had a very good conversation with Kevin Mulhern. Kevin is the CEO and co-founder of AdvisorStream, which in my view is an indispensable solution for the financial professional when it comes to relationship management. He is a digital strategist who ultimately helps advisors leverage automated marketing to engage clients and grow a business. In this episode, we discussed many things, including the sweet spot around the art and science of relationship management. I hope you really enjoy it, and we'll have to do a follow-up because there's so much more ground to cover. So if you like this podcast, please like and share and tell your colleagues. And as always, if you have any ideas or topics you'd like to hear on this podcast in the future, just let us know. Thanks for listening. Very excited to have this conversation about growth. So above and beyond our coaching and consulting, I'm on the road presenting on topics covered in the Blue Square Method and the Advisor Playbook. But of course, the common question I get is, how can I attract and keep great clients, especially through all of this turbulence? So again, that's the goal: organic growth through more introductions from advocates, clients, strategic partners, and getting out in front of evolving needs to capture money in motion for deeper empowerment. But of course, to achieve that, you have to constantly be asking yourself, am I referable? Do I deserve the introductions? Do I deserve total client engagement? Because that's the foundation. The foundation of growth is competitor proofing your clients and always achieving fee worthiness. So to get there, we're going to have a great conversation with a friend of mine and an authority in this space. His name is Kevin Mulhern. He's the CEO of AdvisorStream. Kevin, you probably have the coolest title in all of the financial services space. You are a digital strategist. So let's discuss actionable and automated procedures that will enable a financial services team to grow. Great to see you. Thanks for being here.
It's great to be here, Duncan. It's always a pleasure working with you. Not only our companies working very closely together, but just yourself and the insights you bring to the industry and the experience. So thank you for that introduction. It was wonderful. And yeah, it's my favorite topic today. I don't know if my title is the coolest. That's my outward title. The inside title, since we were acquired, is a little bit different, a little less exciting. But I still feel that, through the many years that I've been working with advisors in Canada, the United States, the UK, in digital marketing and client retention and client acquisition, that this should be a good conversation today.
Absolutely. And the brand, the identity of the business, AdvisorStream, is so intuitive because it speaks to the fluid and dynamic nature of relationship management. So let's get into this. Now, we've all heard that saying that small hinges can swing open very large doors. So we're not going to be talking about dramatic efforts or expenditures towards growing through introductions and empowerment. We're going to talk about some minor adjustments, some little tweaks. So Kevin, if I can just put you on the spot, let's talk about some specifics around not just what your solution is, but what it does, and some success stories around how it's been deployed.
Sure. So what it is, let's start there, keep it brief. Some of the folks listening today may be using the platform, some may not, some may have heard of it. If they're not using it, some may have never heard of it at all. But really what AdvisorStream is, and has been since I founded the company in 2014, is a way that advisors can lean on technology on a platform in a fulsome way, or a all-in-one platform approach, an omni-channel approach. You'll hear all of these ways to describe a really robust marketing platform. And there are many platforms out there. Ours is very different than those in some very specific ways. And what I'm referring to exactly is the content that we use and the way we use that content. And let me just expand on that just a little bit. We realized early on that advisors, are very busy people. I think that, there's no debate in that. There's a lot of research around that. The average advisor works about 56 hours, and about 15 hours of that is pure administration, which is a real shame. So we were looking at building a platform that could be automated, and that's a scary word for some advisors and not other advisors. We built a platform that would do everything in terms of digital marketing, almost everything for an advisor in terms of digital marketing, but would give the advisor the ability to choose what level of automation she wants, whether that's want total control or you want to rely on technology to take care of your social media marketing, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, your website and blog content, and also your email-based marketing, drip campaigns, e-cards, newsletters, targeted emails. So that is what we built. And there's really, I would say, 3 pillars to Advisor Stream, and they together work to achieve what you said, making small tweaks to your practice for client acquisition and client retention. But those 3 pillars really are ensuring that you're actively marketing on all channels. So I mentioned what those were, and we can get into that later. That what you're using to market, the content you're using, because at the heart of all marketing activities is content. Whether you create it, someone creates it for you, you license it somewhere. At the end of the day, an email is about the content in the email. A website is about the content on the website, and people don't go to LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter to look at your picture or the advisor's picture. They go there for content. So at the heart of digital marketing for anyone, including advisors, is content. So we built an omni-channel system that can effectively automate or allow you to manage the delivery of content to every single type of channel. But getting to the content is where we're really different. We believe advisors should be creating some of their own content in their own voice. They can find content from other sources, but if they do that, they should use highly credible, current content that is highly engaging, and that content is delivered in a very premium way. And we can talk about that a little bit later as well when we talk about some of the success stories. So those are the 2 of the pillars. But the 3rd pillar is every piece of content should be lead enabled or capture enabled, deliver prospects. If you don't do that, you're being a great person, you're educating people, you are building your brand potentially if you're co-branding yourself with all of that content. Many aren't, but you are not going to grow. And I think we're here to talk about growth. So all content on all channels at all times should be delivering new business, or at least giving you the opportunity, giving you new prospects that then you can nurture and convert from prospect to client status. So that's saying a lot. I'll stop there, but really Advisor Stream is an omni-channel platform partnered with the world's best publishers, here in Canada, Globe and Mail, National Post, in the United States, Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Bloomberg, Forbes, Reuters, Financial Times, Harvard Business Review, The Economist, and so on. And in the UK, Guardian, Financial Times, and many others. So we're technology, we're content partnerships, and we also are the nurturing piece to convert prospects to clients. So that's what we are. I hope that's a pretty good description of what we have. And we work with all types of advisors, RIAs, a lot of RIAs. We're seeing them as really heavy users of leading technology. Of course, your broker-dealer advisors, your standard advisors, and even insurance agents and other people like that.
Okay, well, I'm glad you got there, because that is such a huge point of difference, because the sweet spot in relationship management is balancing high tech with high touch.
Yes.
So high touch is personalized. It's tailored to the individual. It's interesting. It's not noise.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, the high tech, the automation, puts sand in the advisor's hourglass. You talk about that 56 hours.
Yes.
Let's give them the gift of time.
Yes.
So content marketing is and will continue to be the future in relationship management, especially when it's customized, because it just triggers moments of recognition and appreciation. But the key here is it be a habit, a ritual, a process. It's not just good intention, stirring the pot, hoping for the best. It's actually speaking to what the client wants to receive from their advisor.
Right.
Now, I want to delve into something here. We all know the goal is to not just meet expectations. It's to exceed expectations in the spirit of fee worthiness.
Yes.
Because again, that's the foundation. Be fee worthy, and everything else comes from that.
Yes.
So how do you exceed expectations? Well, the best advisors understand these three drivers. The best advisors are needs-based, which means they know what the client's needs are. They address those needs. They uncover unmet needs. They get out in front of evolving needs, and they provide great service. They react to issues that come up. That's driver number one. Minimum requirement. That does not keep someone up against commoditization and fee worthiness. Right. It's just a stepping stone.
Right.
The next is values-based. Values-based means you create chemistry with people. You only strive to align yourself with people who see the world the same way. They're philosophically aligned. They have a deep appreciation for your value. Kevin, as we all know, there are a lot of rich jerks out there. And, I've been saying for years, I think Mark Twain coined this phrase that you can never wrestle with a pig, right? You both get dirty, but the pig likes it. I mean, there are some people that are just wired in a way that's incompatible. So needs-based, values-based, and there's a way to really amplify the alignment of those values. And then lastly, goals-based, which means you understand and you communicate to your clients in a way that speaks to why financial independence is important to them. The more you emphasize why it's important to them, the more emphasis they'll place on how you get them there. So it's not just helping them get to their number and how much they have and have accumulated. It's who they become as a person because of your value. So that's a long-winded explanation to speak to what Advisor Stream does in terms of helping a financial services team efficiently and consistently amplify their needs-based, values-based, and goals-based deliverable to exceed expectations. So I'd love your comments on that.
That's right, Duncan. I think we would agree with that fully, from the way we built the platform to who we chose as content partners to working with people like yourself, is we fully agree. You got needs, values, and goals that you need to be focused on to A, to be happy yourself as an advisor, but B, to make the clients that you're working for and working with achieve those goals. You have aligned values and that needs are met. I mean, if you don't do those things, you could argue failed. But when we look at Advisor Stream, I'm even going to go back just one step further in some of your comments and then come right back to needs, values, and goals, but time. So one thing we're trying to do, and we think we've done it, we are the highest rated marketing platform today in the Americas and won the most innovative client solution in all of the Americas a few weeks ago. And I think the reason is a lot of what you're touching on. So first off, what we're trying to do is not replace the critical core function of an advisor, and that is understanding those three things which happen when you start to work with them and speak with them and understand them. What we're trying to do is find new people that may make sense for an advisor. So capture those prospects, and we'll talk about how we do that later, and then hand them over, aid in the nurturing of them, get them into a meeting with the advisor, and then from there on, the advisor does what they do. And so we're trying to add sand back into the hourglass, give time back by just, like I mentioned earlier, is to automate some of those 15 hours that are wasted every week of an advisor's life. A lot of that's in marketing. A lot of that's in really laborious stuff like getting approvals on content, getting approvals on messaging from compliance folks, even no matter what kind of advisor you are. So first off, we do a lot of automation, but we use a lot of intelligence to do that. We do use consumption profiles, machine learning, and AI. I know people throw these terms around. I'll talk specifically about how we do that. But what we end up resulting in is determining what people are interested in, what are their needs, what are their goals, and adding a layer of information around goals, values, and needs to the advisor on an individual contact basis. So every client you have and every prospect that we've captured or you've captured and have brought into our platform, we can tell you what they're hyper focused on right now. And we monitor that ongoing in real time forever, so that as people's needs change, their values don't typically change, but their needs change and their goals can change. Mm-hmm. And we add a layer of understanding and insight to that. You know your client as well as you can. You know your prospect fairly well. Our platform adds a lot of new interest. We tell you actually what they're focused on. And I think there's some slides available related to this, which can show you how our platform does this. But we're really tracking everything they read and watch that has been sent by the advisor and consumed, seeing how engaged they are. And we can literally identify if somebody's focused on downside. It might not always be a financial focus. It might be family focused. It might be a child going to university. It might be downsizing their home. It might be something as simple as a vacation. It might be something as painful as a divorce. That we can see what is on top of mind with each of your clients and prospects. And that does a couple things. One, it tells you some of the nonverbal cues is what we're giving you. Your clients will tell you some things, but they don't always tell you everything. So we're adding a layer on that. So we're not just populating your social media accounts, your website, your blog, your newsletters, targeted emails, drip campaigns. And we're not just doing that. We're giving you the information that comes back from the engagement with those things that people have. So as your clients are reading content that you sent them, as prospects are coming to your website or your social media properties, we're able to capture leads. Then we start to learn about those prospects for you. We provide that data for you in real time. What are these prospects hyper focused on right now? So that you, the advisor, cannot waste time doing those tasks, frankly, populating social media properties, populating your website and your blog, creating newsletters and targeted emails, and then finding the content for those things. We do all of that. We automate all of that. And then we pass back the insights that we get on your prospects, on your clients, so that you can really focus on their true needs, values, and goals. So I know I'm saying a lot there, but we are completely aligned, and that's really what we're doing.
Well, let me distill that, because ultimately, I don't want somebody to listen to that and say, boy, that sounds like work. I mean, there's a machine learning dynamic to this, because my eureka moment when I first got to know AdvisorStream is it wasn't just the steady stream of content that you would send to a client that was tailored, personalized, and again, consistently deployed. But there was also the stream back to the advisor in terms of trends and metrics around the consumption of that content. That's very, very profound. So that 15 hours you're talking about, okay, it enables the advisor who's deploying this solution to interpret how it's being received, perceived, and appreciated by the addressable audience. I think that's very important.
Well, it literally is the most important part of the platform. To the client, obviously, you want to keep them engaged. You want them to know you care, that you're here for them, that you're thinking about them, and that you know what's important, and you're going to provide them education, information, inspiration in some cases even. Right. And so that's critical, but it's that data coming back that tells the advisor what someone's truly interested in, what they're focused on, what their current needs and goals are, above and beyond what they've told the advisor, right? So these are the nonverbal cues that we can provide that become really powerful. And the other thing I would say is, we did a big research study with Dow Jones last year, and we learned a lot ourselves there about expectations of clients today, of investors today. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But the number one reason that the older generations are working with advisors is because they really do not feel they have the information they need there. They need more information. They do not feel they have the education anymore to properly be guiding themselves to their goals and their ultimate retirement and happiness in the decumulation phase of retirement. So that was really interesting. And we can provide a link to that study if anybody wants to see it. But there's another study that I really think I'd like to highlight, and that's a Vanguard study. And the Vanguard study, great study. There's a ton of great data and insights in it. But in particular, I wanted to understand why clients do leave. When do they feel that they're not getting the value for the fees they're paying? And why? What are the key reasons that an investor, a client says, hey, I think I'm going to go elsewhere? And in the top three are interesting. I think the third most cited reason, I think you'll find this interesting, the third most cited reason a client leaves today is perceived, and this is important, perceived bad advice, right? So they think they've received bad advice. Whether they have or haven't is debatable half the time, but they think they have, and that's all that matters. They believe they've gotten bad advice. So that's the third most cited reason. The first most cited reason is fees. Okay, so we're going to get to the heart of what you're saying is fees. And I don't think that's a surprise to any of us. Clients are often complaining about fees. We all complain about fees in different parts of our life, particularly if we don't think we're getting the value for those fees. So perceived bad advice, third most cited. The very top most cited reason, fees, or perceived that fees are too high. So these are two things that are really hard to mitigate with a technology solution. Perception of advice, perception of your fees being high or not high. But the second most cited reason is lack of communication, valued communication. So I want to say something about that. Your job, obviously, is to get people to hit their goals so that they have what they need at the different phases of their life. Pretty important job. But often you lose a client because they think they've gotten bad advice or they think your fees are too high. It's hard to mitigate those, but lack of communication, the second most cited reason for a client to leave, is totally in your control. And that's valued communication. So that's why you really need to hyper-personalize content. You have to know what's important to people, and you have to make sure you're sending current, credible content about those topics. That's not easy. That's what our platform does. That frees you up to do all the other things that are so critical. So communication and providing valued content is really, really important. It's the second most important thing you can do to keep retention, high levels of retention with clients. So that's a little bit surprising often for advisors. And the other core part of that is it has to be valuable communication. So if you're sending content that's not relevant to the values, the needs, the goals of someone, you're sending just, I think this will work and I'll send the same information to all my clients, you will actually lose clients. Your retention levels go down. So I just like to highlight that to people. So our platform wants to identify literally what's important right now for each and every one of your clients, and then offer you the exact right content aligned to that goal and that need, and we will send it to them. So we're trying to free up time. We're trying to identify what's really important, and then we're providing the content to meet that desire, that focus, that interest of the client and the prospect. So it is different than any other platform in that way.
A customized podcast can add credibility and efficiency to your communication efforts, sifting good prospects from the mass of suspects, staying top of mind with strategic partners, and activating more advocacy from existing clients can be achieved with a turnkey approach. Learn more at proudmouth.com. Do you aspire to consistently attract and keep great clients while driving the enterprise value of your business? Do you want to achieve professional contrast by supplementing your technical ability with a consistent client experience driven by best practices? The Blue Square Toolkit brings the proven Pareto Systems philosophy and process to life in a way that tethers your team so that you can competitor-proof your clients, gain their full empowerment, and attract quality referrals. all while restoring liberation and order in your life, and all in an intuitive, easy to use, turnkey solution. Visit bluesquaretoolkit.com to get your 14-day free trial today. Okay, well, you covered a lot of ground there. I want to get into the weeds a little bit and get granular on what this actually looks like to deploy. Okay, and again, there's an art and science to relationship management. The science is how you make someone think. The art is how you make them feel. Okay, that again is the sweet spot. Now, client service, if that's all a financial advisor relies on, they're pumping up a leaky tire. Okay, that's not enough to get somebody to really fixate on the long view, to put on the noise canceling headphones, to see past short-term issues. The client experience is what activates the future pacing. It's what helps somebody see past obstacles and turbulence. So, of course, the chassis that most advisors default to for a client experience is the famous 12-4-2. Okay, now that's been around for a long time. 12-4-2, that's not reactive. That's a supplement to how you react. It's what's scheduled and curated. 12 scheduled touches, so one touch a month. Unexpected. Like triggers a moment of recognition and appreciation. 12 touches, 4 scheduled phone calls, like a reach out, a call rotation, and 2 scheduled meetings. Now, and again, it's not just about your technical ability and your core competency. It's panoramic. Like I'll tell you something, okay, about how transportive anchors and triggers can be for somebody. So behind you, Kevin, I've been in the hub of Toronto hundreds of times if I've been there once. When I look at what's behind you, I'm just talking about feeling here. So just to the right of the Royal York Hotel, so for everybody who doesn't know Toronto well, just over Kevin's right shoulder is the Sky Dome and the CN Tower. Just behind his left shoulder is the Royal York Hotel. And in front of that is the big train station, Union Station, Toronto. I'm telling you this because I look at that image, I'm instantly transported to a moment that occurred about 27 years ago. I was in a meeting downtown and I had to drive from Toronto to the Golden Horseshoe in my Volkswagen GTI. And right behind you, in the thick of rush hour, trying to get onto the freeway, my transmission dropped out of the car onto the pavement. And you can imagine how patient and understanding everybody was. And my day was pretty much ruined. I'm only bringing that up because when you can activate a feeling for somebody, that's a different energy that's so powerful and qualitative beyond the quantitative. So performance, where I'm going with this, Kevin, is the most enlightened advisors have expanded the thinking of their clients where they are not fixated on individual products, pricing, and short-term performance. The client has gone beyond that to an appreciation for the people and the practice and the process. And this is exactly what can be achieved here using this advisor stream deliverable in a consistent manner.
Yes, I couldn't agree more with that.
Okay, so with all of that said, Kevin, let's talk about how we can plug and play value added consistently in a personalized manner in the 12-4-2 dynamic. And let's talk about what that does. So let's get to the 12 touches. What are you seeing advisors achieving, and what are they doing, and what type of reaction do they get from their clients by building out their client experience and being proactive and consistent in their communication?
So consistency is critical. I would, that's really interesting, the 12-4-2. I've heard it many times myself. I'll say two things about the 12-4 and the 2, but that is what we do. We automate that so you're never missing that. You're doing it in a personalized way, and you're doing it for every single client and every single prospect, not just clients, prospects as well. I mentioned earlier, we did a big study with Dow Jones last year in the United States, in Canada, and the UK. It was a significant, very large study on the expectations of investors. And one was on frequency of communications. And we talked a few moments ago about the second most stated reason that an investor leaves is I never heard from my advisor, or I didn't hear from them consistently, or I didn't hear from, when I did hear from them, it wasn't valuable information. So this is a clear thing we must achieve.
Sorry to interrupt you. And I've actually heard prospective clients tell an advisor when they met with the advisor for the first time, they've said, I actually heard more from you, more consistently from you than my existing advisor. And I'm not even a client yet, just because I got into your stream of communication. Yes. What a powerful indicator that is.
You know, what's funny, I will come back to another story I heard recently in I won't name the company, but it was in a board meeting, and I'll come back to that. But yes, that's right. Consistency is everything. A close equivalent is the value of what you're sending, and that means it has to be relevant to someone. But let's just talk about that a bit. We did this big study, and we said we were trying to find out what is the frequency of communications that clients expect in today's hyper digital world, post-pandemic. And A, it has to be consistent. B, believe it or not, it's weekly. And that's in all three countries, it was weekly. So I think things have shifted dramatically. But before I leave that point about weekly, I would also say you need to give every single client and prospect the ability to change their frequency to what they want it to be, whether it's once a month, twice a month, weekly, quarterly, and all platforms should do that. And most of them are doing that today. We do that today, but we follow the weekly principle. So we are 52-4-2 probably. And there's real benefits to communicating more. Remember, we were talking about the data that comes back. Well, data comes back as people consume content on our platform or anyone's platform. So when you're sending 52 touch points a year with personalized content that you know is about the things that they're hyper-focused on, you can see what they're reading, which means you're getting more and more data back, more insights, and you're seeing as the needs and goals of someone change even throughout the course of 1 year. So there's real value in consistency, frequency being no less than once a month, okay? I say go weekly, but give everyone the chance to say, I don't want it weekly, I'll take it monthly, and then our system will send. So our system, and most today, I believe, but definitely Advisor Stream, has different, one advisor may have their book of business with 200, our average is 240 clients, is that they will, or 240 contacts, some could be small clients, the core clients can be smaller than that, but on average, you have 240 client contacts. And you could have a very wide range of different frequencies within your client base. Don't decide for everyone it's going to be monthly or it's going to be weekly. We say start at weekly. Let the clients who want it less say less. And do you know what the percentage is? I don't think you do, so I'm just going to say the percentage of people who change their frequency from weekly is under 3%. Across all of our advisors, across all of their millions, we're talking about millions of clients here. We deliver hundreds of millions of communications a month. So, you know, we do have the data that tells us what's true. So getting back to your point, consistency, absolutely. Frequency, let them decide, but don't go too few. You can always let them pull back, right? And then quality, the relevancy, is it personalized, is critical. So I don't know if I answered your core question there, Duncan.
Let me just chime in because as I've gotten to know the solution better, and I've talked to people who have deployed it, I've also started to scrutinize my own consumption because I get bombarded with information, whether it's to my email, on LinkedIn, whatever the case may be. And I've come to realize the frequency is all tied to the stage of readiness. Okay. You don't know when somebody's going to be ready to consume the information, but it's classic Confucius, right? Water dripping on a stone will eventually make a mark. Like you
Yes.
just have to be consistent. Number one. Number two, the diversification of the information in terms of not just being one dimensional, like speaking panoramically
Right.
to their interests based on family, occupation, recreation, and money
Yes.
aspirations.
Absolutely.
The other thing is, based on the signal to noise ratio, is when something really lands, I've actually seen what's prompted me to push it to somebody else, like to forward it to somebody and say, you've got to check this out, where I become the bridge, the conduit from an advocacy perspective. It reminds me of that Bonnie Raitt song, Give Them Something to Talk About.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going through the motions.
Well, it's funny. I mentioned earlier that I had a story, an anecdotal true life story about a board meeting. It relates to Bonnie Raitt here. So, and it was a great story because I got a phone call immediately after this, and someone was in a board meeting who had received a communication and passed it on, and it ended up moving over to that advisor once they had signed up and got consistent communications. So give them something to talk about, make sure that they want to talk about it, make sure it's relevant. And the other powerful thing about sharing high quality, relevant content. So right now I'm renovating. Okay. I'm renovating personally. And, I got an email from a contractor who I know about renovations and about going over budget was the article. Okay. Which I am. And I forwarded that to another friend of mine because I am now the arbiter. I know which people in my network are also focused on that very one thing. So I did this work for this other contractor. I forwarded this great article. It was from Home and Garden magazine. And I forwarded it to a friend and they loved it. They signed up for that person's communications. They're now working with them. So, now I feel responsible. I hope that guy does a good job, right? But you're right. You give them something to talk about. But I think more than just that is I become the filter of my network for my advisor. So when my advisor is sending me great information, I know what 6 people could really use this. A month from now, as I receive other things that are worth talking about, other good content, whether that's a video, an infographic, or an article, maybe that's about downsizing. I'm going to send that to my 3 friends who want to downsize. So by getting it out there, making sure it's consistent, making sure it's credible, by the way, and current is helpful, then I am going to say, this is a great Wall Street Journal article about annuities, which I'm thinking about, and so is my buddy Dave, and I say, hey, give this a read, So empower your network to become referrers for you, help them let you grow. The one other thing about referrals and giving people something to talk about, I'm going to be using that now. Giving people something to talk about is that it really extends, it turns the network on. Your clients all will start sending those relevant things to their friends that can find that valuable right now. And that referral machine will help you grow. So, and I've got a bunch of those stories. One of the guys on my advisory board, I won't say his name. He's a financial advisor here in Canada, not in Toronto, outside of Toronto. And he's an Ironman runner. He's been doing it for years. And he posted a Globe and Mail article, or was it a New York Times article? I'd have to check, but it was Globe or New York Times. And it was about why Iron men and women make great CEOs. And he posted that to the Ironman group on LinkedIn. That one article got him 17 leads, of which 6 he converted. Now that you can't hope for those types of numbers typically, but talk about relevant, right audience, right content, right place to put it.
You know what's amazing? I know advisors who have gone less frequent in their communication regarding money, more frequent in their communication about interests.
Yeah.
And what they've been told by very high caliber prospective clients in varying ways is basically, it's a given that you're a good financial advisor. I've come to my own conclusions about that. You just talk to me in a way that I want to be spoken to, that is important in my life. Now, listen, based on continuity and consistency, we're going to pick this up and do more to give everybody some direction to go and kick the tires for AdvisorStream.
Sure.
I encourage you to go to advisorstream.com/Pareto, ask for a demo, And I will tell you something. In terms of the conversions and the efficiency, how this works with your social and other digital drivers, the reporting you get back on how it's consumed and pushed to others in the spirit of advocacy, we all know the expression, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. This is, in my view, the most efficient, effective, affordable solution for qualitative relationship management and quantitative business development growth through introductions and deeper empowerment. So, Kevin, let's wrap this up for now. Everybody go do the demo, check it out. And then, I've got another half page of things I want to talk about. So let's do a part two as soon as possible.
I love working with you, Duncan, and I'd love to be on as soon as you can get me back on. I actually had a few things I really wanted to say as well. Time was our enemy a little bit, but absolutely, thank you again for having me, and I look forward to being back.
And everybody, follow Kevin on LinkedIn. Okay, Kevin Mulhern, Advisor Stream, part of the Broadridge group of companies. He's a great follow. Great information there, as you would expect. Kevin, great to see you, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you for listening to Always On with Duncan MacPherson, where our objective is to enable professionals to always be working on their business and on themselves. Want to learn more about Duncan and his team? Visit ParetoSystems.com. Don't forget to click the follow button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the hosts and/or guests and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Pareto Systems. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. This podcast is powered by Proudmouth, the Influence Accelerators. If you're like me and want to spend more time educating people and less time selling, Proudmouth helps turn Main Street experts like you into trusted mainstream authorities. They will help amplify your influence over a growing audience of magnetically attracted fans. Visit proudmouth.com to learn more.